D's hang on in a thriller at the MCG.
Oh, fine. He just willed himself through.
And he brought it down, Harms. Oh, he's done it to McDonald.
Hello, welcome to Inside Melbourne. Another week and ever closer to round one versus the Cats on Sunday. A big show today, and I've got a very special co-host. Tom Morris can't be with us, but Jakey Lever, who will make his debut in red and blue, has stepped into the void. The pressure's on. Jake, you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. But no, thank you very much for having me. I'm super excited.
You're more nervous about the podcast or round one suiting up for the Ds?
Well, I don't know yet. I'm pretty nervous about this podcast, especially the co-host position that I've been handed. But I guess I'll be probably nervous about 10 minutes before the game, I reckon, on Sunday.
Big show today on Inside Melbourne. Of course, we've got the Melbourne coach, Simon Goodwin, a bit to talk to him about. Plus, one of your favourites in the podcast world, that is Hamish Blake. And you've got a few curly ones for him.
Yeah, I'm super excited to co-host. I've done it pretty well in terms of timing for this week. But yeah, super excited. So I've got a few questions and not footy related either.
Oh, yeah. I like that. Hey, your time at the Ds, I feel like it's flown, but for you, you've been putting in the hard yards on the track. How's it been?
Yeah, it's been good. So it has flown by. 4.5 months of running, I guess when you look back, seems a long time ago. But yeah, it's come around so quickly now in terms of probably since the first JLT game now. It's round one and, we're preparing now to play Geelong, and it's just, I guess it's super exciting for me, but around the club you can just feel that the boys are just so ready to get out there, and we don't have a lot of injuries, which is really good position for the club to be, and it's going to be a hard 22 to break into, but yeah, it's super exciting.
Jake, have you had a good luck text from Tex?
I haven't had a good luck text from Tex yet. I'm probably not expecting one. I might get some from a couple of my other teammates. I'm actually catching up with a few of them because they play the Bombers on Friday night at Etihad. So so I'll catch up with a few of them, but no, probably not expecting one from him.
Last time you were on the G, of course, it didn't quite go your way. Does your mentality change having played in a losing grand final at all?
Oh, look, I think I walked out in the MCG probably for the first time the other day. Doing an Infinity sort of photo shoot.
Great new sponsor of the Melbourne Football Club.
Absolutely, massive sponsor. And yeah, I guess it was a bit weird. I obviously remembered running out there and there were being 100,000 people there, where there was only probably 30 or 40 there this time. But I guess I'm just super excited to be able to I guess learn from last year and then I've been able to sort of put that into my mind every sort of pre-season session that I've done this year, and be able to use that as fuel and the fire in the belly to be able to come out this season and hopefully go one step closer or one step better.
In terms of how our back line will work and mix around you, I mean, you've got Oscar McDonald down there, but what differences have you noticed? And come game day, how will the Melbourne approach differ from that of Adelaide?
Oh, look, I think that all defenses now are very similar. Sort of, it's a bit like the world of AFL. Once sort of one team does something really well, everyone tries to copy it. So, in terms of defenders, there's plenty of pace off the half back line. You got Hibbo, you got Jaden Hunt, Josh Wagner's had a great preseason. I was going to say Jordan Lewis and Bernie Vince, but them being pretty old, they don't have much pace. They'll hate me for that. But but in terms of them guys, they're just so attacking, and the ability for them to be actually able to defend, because I think it's pretty important that we get that offensive drive, but for them to be able to defend, it's really good. And then so me and Oscar and Frosty down there, I've sort of been working with them too over the pre-season. I've loved every minute of it. Because as tall defenders, you need to kind of lean off each other throughout the game. So I've been able to learn a lot from them and hopefully teach them a couple of things, but it's been good.
And in terms of this week against the Cats, big Tommy Hawkins is obviously an ever-present danger. How do you go about stopping the big fella?
Yep, Tommy Hawkins, he's obviously a super player, and I usually get the fantastic job of standing in front of him when he's leading at full charge. So I might have to say to him before the game, just don't try and knock my block off. Yeah. But I'm sure he will try to. But yeah, no, he's obviously a super player. But they've got some pretty dangerous forwards up there. It'll be interesting to see what Ablett does if he plays more midfield. But I'm expecting he's probably going to play a little bit forward. So we've probably got one of the best small defenders in the competition in Nev down there. So I'm sure he'll meet his match, and hopefully we get it done on Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. Sunday afternoon at the MCG. Be there or be square. Jake Lever, co-host. Thanks very much. We're going to come back after this with Simon Goodwin, the senior coach, plus our big special guest. And Jake has come armed with a few curly questions for Hamish Blake. That's still to come on Inside Melbourne. Thanks to our co-major partner and podcast sponsor, Zurich. For more than 100 years, they've been ensuring the people and things you truly love. And just like you, they truly love footy and truly love Melbourne. Well, they say 24 hours is a long time in footy. How about 208 days? That's how long we've all been forced to wait since Melbourne last battled it out on the MCG against Collingwood. Simon Goodwin's been good enough to join us on Inside Melbourne. Goody, that is a long time, and you must be keen to get out there on Sunday against the Cats.
Yeah, thanks, Stanners. Yeah, it has been an incredible long time. Obviously, the disappointment away, the season finished, but we're really looking forward to this weekend. We've had a great summer, and it's been an exciting little period, but nothing better than coming out round one in front of your home crowd this weekend. Before we get stuck into the footy, I've got to ask you about a few elephants in the room, if we can. An article written by Tom Morris earlier in the week, which the headline was, Simon Goodwin flippantly offered resignation as Melbourne coach after pre-season camp was canned. Firstly, your thoughts on that article? Any truth to it? Absolutely no truth at all. And I think we've got to be really careful as an industry when rumours become folklore. And I think it can be really damaging to people. And it's something that was never a topic of discussion, was never said. And I think as an industry, I think we just need to be really mindful and careful of those sort of accusations. They're rumours that fester over a period of time, and then they're presented as if they're folklore. And I think it's important that we don't hide behind some club sources. We actually come to the source and actually ask the question. And the question is really clear. It never happened. Why do you think this issue, this camp, keeps being brought up in conversation? Why is it the subject of so much talk? Clearly it's a bigger issue for people on the outside. Internally, it was dealt with really quickly. We had some great learnings out of it as a footy club, and we were working really hard to build hard-working, competitive, resilient, humble people. And that was a really small piece in the puzzle of a much bigger thing. These boys work incredibly hard, and it's topical because they're seen as it's a divide between coaching staff, players, and a whole range of things, which is the furthest thing from the truth. This group is incredibly united. What's happened was it was a slow news through December. Everyone's on holidays, and as we've got to the first week heading into round one, it's become quite topical again. That's the reality of the industry. Is they need something to talk about. As an extension of that, Wayne Carey, the Duck, said we aren't a united team. Your take on that? As I said, that's the furthest thing from the truth. This group is as close as I've seen, both from a whole football department, coaching and player group that's possible. And they're really focused on what they want to achieve. To be honest, as I said, the camp was dealt with back in December. That was a really small piece in our journey over the summer. And as we hit round one, we're incredibly confident with where we are as a group. One more, and it came from Mick Malthouse. I mean, you're trying to build this winning mentality, this winning culture, and Mick says that no team can be as happy with themselves as Melbourne after a win. Yeah, look, it's a comment that's pretty flippant. I'd like to see some examples of what he's talking about. But as a club, what we're trying to build is a club that's filled with people that are humble and they show humility. And as we keep our environment really consistent, as we grow and mature into the team that we want to become, hopefully that's what people see. The Cats on Sunday. A lot of fans will be wondering, obviously, will Danger and Ablett play? Obviously, your take on that is, we want to take on the best and win. Yeah, look, we're prepared for their best, and their midfield is an incredible group. Those three players are generational type of players that have huge impact on games. So we're excited by that challenge. We'd love to be in a game where they're all playing and at their best. So we're prepared for that. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I know our players are looking forward to it. Well, if they do play, it's a terrific challenge for our young midfield. Yeah, it is. We've got some young guys going through our midfield, and we've got a lot of versatility. With Petrarca, Salem, Hogan, Mitch Hannon, Corey Maynard, these type of players, Melksham that'll go through the midfield, Alex Neil-Bullen. So we've got a variety of versatile team that will go through those positions, and I think that's an exciting thing for our footy club.
I want to throw a name out there, some selection news perhaps. You can shed some light on Bayley Fritsch. Will he be in red and blue come Sunday at the MCG?
Yeah, look, he will. It's fantastic for the footy club to have a debutant in round one, and Bailey will certainly suit up for us. He's a quality kid who's had an extremely good summer, and I think it's a great thing for our pathway. Through the Casey Demons, he was a player there that had a fantastic season last year. He kicked 45 goals at VFL level, and was on our radar, and we picked him up in the draft, and he's playing round one. So I think it's a really a great piece for our pathway through the Casey Demons. So we're really excited for Bailey. He's got a lot of talent, but it's now time to put it on show at AFL level.
Absolutely, and still a relatively young kid, I guess you could say, but someone that's built maturity given that pathway, an apprenticeship, if you will. Is that what you're seeing? Yeah,
look, he was, he's been he understands how we want to play. So he came in knowing the way that we wanted to play, and he's been trained up with a similar sort of training drills, so similar fundamentals of how we like to play the game. So that gives him a little advantage when he walks into the environment knowing what's expected. So he's adapted to that AFL environment really quickly, and hence why he's playing round one.
Another debutant in red and blue, a man who the last time he stepped foot onto the MCG, unfortunately was a sad old tale for him, Jake Lever, coming over from the Crows. What has he provided on the track, off it too, and what are you expecting from him come Sunday?
Well, our recruiters really liked him as a junior. So in the under-18s, they saw he had leadership qualities. He was certainly a great defender who could impact the ball aerially. And that's all we've seen from him since he's walked in the club. He's a great communicator. He leads the boys incredibly well. And he's that type of player where opposition teams have trouble getting through because he can read the play incredibly well and come off his man and impact. So he's brought that from the time he walked in. He competes incredibly hard, and he's speaking to him yesterday. He's incredibly excited about coming out on the MCG again with the red and blue on.
Simon Goodwin joining us on Inside Melbourne. I want to take some questions from the outer, Goody, if I can. The first one comes from Daniel Powell. He says, what steps have been put in place to stop the lapses in concentration in games where we might have had multiple goals kicked on us happen too many times, he says, last year. Saw it again in the JLT against the Saints.
Yeah, momentum's something that happens in footy. So we've been working incredibly hard at building our team to just continue to go and mentally handle the game. So there's a few things with that. Physically, you can't handle the game mentally until you can handle it physically. So we've been training incredibly hard to be able to deal with that. There's things that we'll do in game that will hopefully help momentum. We've worked really hard as a coaching group to have a look at that. We didn't implement much through the JLT. We wanted to see our players play the game and absorb some of that pressure. So we're looking forward to seeing how they handle those sort of occurrences as the season goes on. But as we mature as a team and as we get better, I think they'll become less and less.
Greg off the Twitter says, what differences, if any, in game style will we see this year? Is there anything that you've been working on that might surprise Melbourne supporters?
Oh, look, there's a few things that we've been working on. You'll see some tinkering with our game style. I think you'll be, relatively excited with how we play the game. But also, we're certainly a team that's built our game style around the contest and playing the game in that phase. So I think the supporters will see a really exciting brand of footy. They'll see a team that's really hard around the footy and competes incredibly hard. So, and that are hard to play against. So we have tinkered slightly. I can't tell you publicly what that looks like, but I think you'll be pretty excited.
Obviously, you had a great mentor in your early days here at Melbourne in Paul Roos. But is there a coach, either when you were playing or post, that you've sort of really modelled yourself on, a mentor, an inspiration?
Yeah, look, there's a few back in Adelaide that I was lucky enough to be involved in. Neil Craig and Charlie Walsh, who are two coaches that I have enormous respect for. Just the way they teach the game and the way they drive a culture and ability to work hard. And I've lent on those guys at times, had conversations and coffees and really picked their brains. But they were really good to me in my early days as a young coach. They helped develop me while I was still playing the game, and to this day I still rely on them heavily.
Good stuff. A couple more from the outer. Metty94. Which first-year player has caught your eye and impressed you the most? And in brackets, don't say them all.
Yeah, okay. Well, they have all impressed me.
Sorry, Metty.
I think there's, Harrison Petty's a young kid from South Australia that has come over and, he lives a long way out of South Australia, a long way out of Adelaide, and has come over to Melbourne, adapted really quickly. He's a country kid, a knockabout lad that just goes about his work, and, I think he's a really exciting talent for us.
And finally, from A. Papagua, I think it is. What is your favourite part of the week / game day as coach? Is there a moment, obviously, when you walk into the MCG on game day? That's a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that the time, when you have your last meeting the day before the game, on that moment, it's a time to just really shut down for a little period. It's an opportunity to just take a break, get yourself ready for, the most important part of the week, which is game day. But that's your time. You get a little bit of chance to relax. Understand that a lot of the work's been done through the week and it's been completed, and now it's really time to just get ready for game day. And I think when you wake up that morning of game day, there's a real sense of excitement in you about what's about to happen.
Hey, you'll enjoy this one too. It's just caught my eye. Rory Stocker, he says, will you encourage Sam Wiedemann to grow a mullet and become the modern day Weed?
Well, that's a good one. Yeah, Weed had a good mullet.
I can't see it happening.
No, Wayne Wiedemann in Adelaide had a fantastic mullet, but I can't see Weed. He's not that type of guy. He's a bit of a rooster with his looks, and I'm pretty sure he won't go down the mullet phase.
Hey, Goody, thanks so much for joining us on Inside Melbourne. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to welcome you back into the chair right through the season. And just finally, if you've got a message there for Melbourne fans.
I think just get along to the MCG on Sunday. It's going to be really, really exciting in terms of how we go about our footy, and I think you won't be disappointed when you come along and you'll see a team that competes incredibly hard.
Good stuff. Thanks for joining us, and good luck.
Thanks, Dennis.
Welcome back to Inside Melbourne with thanks to our good friends at Zurich. Hey, Jake, we've got a really special guest on the line now. I know he's one of your favourites. Let's introduce him right now. Hamish Blake joins us, big Melbourne fan. G'day, Hamish.
Guys, how are you? I was listening to the podcast and just had to call up. It's not really how podcasts work, but I can't believe I got through. This is great.
Well, exactly. Very, very lucky, man. Hey, as I say, big D's, man. Why the Melbourne Footy Club?
Well, it was just a bit of a generational thing growing up for me. I had a bit of an odd path into the D's. Not an odd path, but like this is a bit of a weird thing to say, especially for a kid that has grown up 100% in Melbourne, the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne. But I always sort of prided myself on not having a team, which is a weird thing to say, but that's just I just never really followed a team. And it wasn't probably until I was in my late teens, early 20s, I started going for the Deans. And I was introduced to D's through Jimmy Stein, really. I was involved with Reach at an early age, and then got to know Jim, and then that was it for me. I was a D's man. So coming on board early 2000s, not the
no.
I didn't pick an ideal time, but that's all part of getting behind your club. We're there through thick and thin. You can't complain that you bought into Bitcoin at the wrong time.
Exactly.
Gotta hold on.
Just hold on to it.
Absolutely. So, hey, Hamish, it's Jake here. Now,
welcome home.
Thank you very much, mate. It's a pleasure to be here. Now, I know Clinch just asked you a little bit about footy, but now, as he said, I'm a massive fan of both you and Andy, and I have noticed that you are a massive Survivor fan. Is that true?
Huge.
Yes.
Yeah, except tell me if you're the same. US Survivor only.
US Survivor. Okay.
And look, with all due respect to everyone that's gone, I think the Australian Survivor goes for about 4 months out there. For everyone that's gone and done the Australian Survivor, but for me, it's still the king of reality shows. Like it invented voting. It didn't invent voting. Like I think, we've had voting for a long time, but invented voting people off in reality shows. It's like it's the greatest show. Are you into it? Absolutely,
yeah. So I'm actually a bit different. I watched the Australian one, but now I've got to ask you a question. Has there anyone in the team of Melbourne right now that has maybe caught your eye on potentially maybe that could go all the way in a Survivor? Maybe Maxi Gawn with that. He does look the part, doesn't he, with the beard?
Do you know what? Maxi would do well. I did a bike ride. I know you're into cycling a little bit, Sanders, and I'm not sure if you are too, Jay, but there's a ride called Three Peaks, which is like a big kind of one-day ride. They do one in Tassie, one in Victoria, one in
she's intense.
The Gold Coast. And I did Three Peaks with Maxi a couple of years ago. We went to Tasmania and did it. Mate, he would kill it at Survivor just because, nothing really phases him. I mean, he'd need to eat. That was one thing I learned about Maxi. Like, I think you only get like 100 calories a day on Survivor, so that could be an issue. But he just has no business being on a bike, Max. Like, he's a giant. I think they had to build a special bike for him.
Where do the knees and legs go?
Yeah, where do they go?
But it was like in the peloton, it looked like he was on a penny farthing. He was up so high, but he just got the job done, and he was sort of coming off like it was November, so it wasn't like it was at peak physical condition, and Matt, he just grounded out. Then when he got a bit. Well, like at the it's a 230-kilometre bike ride, so at the 200k mark, he was probably feeling a little bit low. He had a Boston bun.
Boston bun.
It's an interesting snack.
He had a finger bun with sprinkles, and he felt fine.
He didn't light up for a dart, did he? We know that he's.
This is the Maxi Gorn of new. He just lined up a little sprinkle finger bun, and
away he goes.
Saved out another 30 k's.
So, didn't share it.
So I feel like not bad. I mean, I think Jonesy would do pretty well on Survivor as well.
Yeah,
I think
tough
basically
unit.
anyone that just I reckon at the end of the day it's just can you operate at extreme fatigue?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's basically survive. How do you reckon? Is this just you secretly lining up to get a gig on Celebrity Survivor?
What are you doing, Jake?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a gig.
I know it's normal for guys at the end of their careers to start talking about how they've always wanted to get into media, but that's like 10, 15 years off for you.
Yeah, I hope so. No, I'm as I said, I'm a bit of a fan, and I thought maybe even Jack Viney would be he's a bit of a competitive person, and I reckon he's a bit of a. Unfortunately for him, he can't. He's a bit of a bigger guy and gets really big, so he can't eat at the minute. He just doesn't have any lunch or dinner or anything like that. So I reckon he'd be all right as well.
Mate, is that what Jack's going through at the moment?
Yeah, shredding.
He gets. You know what his problem is? He just gets too big. That's how unfortunate.
What's like as a layperson? What body fat percentage is Jack aiming for? What's he trying to get back under?
Jack he'd be around sort of 9% body fat. He's one of the more elite in the team.
Yeah, right. Who's got the left?
Who's got the pud?
I was looking at Instagram and looking at some of the season stuff up north. And Maxi looks ferocious. He looks like a velociraptor.
Yeah, he does. He's quite scary at the minute, and he loves to get his top off at the minute.
He does always kid off.
Always kid off. Always sort of at the first opportunity. He's always that guy that sort of encourages everyone else to get the shirt off. So he'd be one of the lowest. But Sam Frost, he's unbelievable in terms of body fat. So he definitely will be one. But unfortunately, he has to eat a lot.
Do you reckon any of the teams can get to the stage where everyone's got such good rigs that we request when we play other teams that we can go skin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hope so.
You'd be in that, Lever. You'd be in that.
Yeah, I'd be in it.
Hey, Hamish, when you get to the G, are you sort of like a sit in the outer kind of guy, or are you a cheese board MCC type operator?
I'll get lynched for this, but I'll let my MCC membership lapse.
Oh, no.
In my 20s, I thought I'd deferred it, but I knew in my heart I hadn't heard from them for 5 or 6 years. So when I chased it up, because at the time it was like whatever it is, $800 a year, or like I was probably earning $10,000 a year total. It's like, mate, and I lived in Sydney for 2 years too. So I was like, I don't know if I can spend 10% of my income on holding onto a membership that I'm in another state. So I did a dumb thing and I let it go. I'm back on the list with my little boy now with Sonny. Andy put us back on the list when Sonny was born. So in about 40 years' time, we'll both be junior restricted members again. But so I did let it go. But I mean, I'm lucky enough that sometimes I do get to go as a guest of the footy club. But if I go with Sonny, because I'm obviously a member, we live pretty close to the G. We live in Richmond, so I'll go with Sonny. Yeah, I don't want him knowing about corporate hospitality till he's 18. So we'll always sit in the outers when we go together, get some hot chips, have a good time. Last season we got up to staying for about half the game. Like, so he's 3 now. He'll be 4 this season, and so we'll get some great games in, I reckon, this season. But this weekend I'm going to the Cats game.
Oh, good man.
In the Chemist Warehouse box. So
Yeah.
But that's only because I invented Chemist Warehouse fastest selling fragrance
Yes.
of all time.
It's a
They
sparkling.
owe me one.
It is. It's very nice.
Jake, you got another question about
Hey,
Haim's
Jake,
wife?
Yes.
Just while we're on the subject of the fragrance, do you have a bottle of Andy by Hamish, or do I need to sort you out?
Yeah, I think you need to sort me out, mate. My missus actually said the other day that I do stink, so I need. I might need some aftershave.
I mean, now, like, your trade deal's 100% done here. We can't get done for, like...
Yeah,
No.
nothing like that, mate.
Off-the-book incentives, because I mean, it's a pretty valuable
It's a
fragrance.
valuable one, yeah.
Absolutely.
I do have a small stash that I would be willing to give you, not as a member of the club luring a high-talent recruit, just as one man saying to another man, I want you to smell the best you can smell.
Yes, absolutely.
They'd be stocking it right next to the Gina Liano fragrance, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it was originally, but it sold out. It sold out in 2 days. 45,000 bottles gone. Forget about it. Done.
That's next level. Well, yes, as Clint said, I do have a question about your wife. Now, my fiance is a massive fan of her books, especially the one Playing the Field.
Yeah, she does. She's got a few. Yeah, it's good that you clarify that, because she also has a kid's book called No One Likes the Part.
Yes. Actually, do you know what though? I have read that book to some students, and that is a very quality book. But now, do you have any input into any of these books? Because my fiance lays in bed at 9:30 at night when we go to bed, and absolutely pisses herself laughing.
And what did you say? 9:30. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is good, isn't it?
I mean. Well, yeah, we're in bed at 9 too. We've got 2 kids, so it's like we just know we're going to...
We don't have... We've got a dog, that's it. So
yeah,
that ties us out.
But we know we'll be up in 45 minutes when we go to bed at 9 o'clock. I have no influence. Playing the Field was written before I came along. That is a novel, though, about the world of wags.
Yes.
So is your fiancé sitting there going, this is unbelievably accurate?
I don't know if she believes that it's accurate. I think she just likes that she's kind of gets to see that and then reads it in a book. I think that's her sort of love for it. So yeah.
Hey, Hamish, before we let you go, what about your junior footy days? Did you pick up the Sharon as a kid? Are you someone who played footy as a kid?
I did a little bit. My old man played footy, and then he played for DLSL. If someone wants to check the record books, they could probably fact check whether or not Dad was lying to me. But according to Dad, he was the captain and just a star ruckman. But he got all his teeth knocked out when he was 18. He had just one of those like brutal 60s footy injuries where someone just ran through him with the elbow up in the ruck, and from that. And now as a parent myself, like I'm like, oh, I can kind of see where Dad was going from. Just always steered. Like once we got to about 12 or 13, it was like, man, he probably just looked at me and my brother's like genetic makeup and went, oh, guys, I don't know if it's for you. So it was like, no, like if you're a shot to make the big leagues, then I suppose you could sit on the sidelines and worry that we were going to get horrifically injured. But I think for Dad, the trade-off wasn't worth it, and just went, look, guys, I've had a look at your fitness, I've had a look at your makeup. I don't know if you're going to make it. And
It's giving you some feedback.
We're a pretty heavy table tennis family, actually. So after about the age of 13, that was my winter sport. And I also went to a school. I went to a high school that, like 1 year we did circus tricks instead. instead of footy. So I'm not great on my left. Do love getting out there and having a kick, but yeah. I can't say that I have a hidden natural talent that people will be blown away by.
Very good stuff. And one more, round 9, 20th of May, Melbourne Carlton MCG. Yourself and Andy will no doubt be there. Do you tend to have a bet on the D's and the Blues matches?
Yeah, but Andy's too wily for that. Like, I would love it if any. I don't think, with all due respect to Carlton, but also. Not really, because
who cares?
I just don't think he'd be dumb enough this year.
Nah.
But yeah, he's one of those guys where it's like he knows that if he gets really fired up, going, mate, Carlton's going to smash the D's. I bet you this amount. If he wins, it's just safer to go. Oh, mate, he's just safer to play the underdog. He's too wily. It's safer for him to go into it going, I think you guys will win, and then if Carlton won, go, oh, mate, I didn't expect that, I'm so excited. He's just very good at hedging, so I can't really get him to commit, especially not when the odds are so heavily, I believe, tipped in the D's favour. heading into this year. But Endo and I we do try a bet every season. I mean, I know we've got another segment to get to, and probably cost you guys a fortune with the phone charges.
Yeah, well.
Me and Endo have it. We bet together. We try, and you've probably heard of this bet before, but we try and do the full season, one game per round multi.
Oh,
so
yes.
Put $100 on just the sure thing of every round, and then so it might be paying like $1.08, and then so you'd be $108 the next round on the sure thing, and just try and multiply it all up. But so you have to string through 23 wins in a row. But is it 23 rounds? Yeah. But you have to string through a lot of wins. But if you get to the end, it's like that $100 can turn into like 10 grand. But
and always gamble responsibly.
Always gamble responsibly. And I'll say this: we've never made it to the end. And you get to the end of, you started with $100, so you never put any more money in. But you get to the end of the season, like that last game, you're betting a lot of money at a 10% return. Yeah. And there is the temptation to go, well, actually, we probably could just cash out here. Yeah. But that's the thrill of the bet. We've fallen over last round before, not naming any names, but hey, it would have been great if the Cats could have beaten the Swans in 2011 as they were meant to do, down at the Guild final round. Hadn't lost there for 40 games or something.
Let's dish out payback Sunday afternoon, MCG. Hamish Blake.
Cannot wait.
I know you'll be there. You'll be cheering. Thanks so much for joining us on Inside Melbourne, mate. We really appreciate it.
I can't wait to see you play, Jackie. I'll open the window in the box so you can hear me cheering, and I'll take a megaphone.
All right, thanks, mate. I'll make sure I'll give you a wave.
Thanks, cheers.
Hamish Blake, thanks so much. And that was Inside Melbourne for another week. Stay tuned because next week we've got another big show with thanks to our friends at Zurich.